Today, we're going to be building a software keys rig from the ground up. We'll go through every single component that you will need to build your keys rig and how to put everything together. Let's get started. So the first component to your keys rig is the stand. Now, there's a lot of different kinds of keyboard stands you can use. The main thing is to find one that supports your keyboard really well and isn't wobbly. The keyboard is not necessarily the most important part of your keys rig, but it is the biggest. And there's lots of different kinds of keyboards that you can use for your software keys rig, and a lot of different preferences as well. I mean, I like to use one that has more of a hammer action style because it feels more like an acoustic piano.
Right, and they all have different controls too. Some have lots of knobs and faders and drum pads and mod wheel and all that stuff, and some are super stripped back and have less. So this is the SL88, and it has 88 keys and has a hammer action. Doesn't have a mod wheel.
No, it does not.
Has this lovely little trigger that you can move around, program how you'd like. Just don't forget which one is the mod wheel.
Right.
It can work as a mod wheel. You can set it up just the same way.
And the nice thing about a MIDI keyboard as well is that it's super simple to connect to the rest of your hardware. We've just got a USB port here on the back that is going to allow us to connect to everything else. So let's get that set up. The next component is arguably the most important component of your software keys rig because it's going to be supplying all of your sound, and that is the laptop that you will be using. Now, this is a MacBook Pro, but you can even use a MacBook Air. A lot of these new devices that have been coming out have been super reliable. The main thing that we recommend is that it has at least 8 gigabytes of RAM. Now, if you plan to use Ableton Live or another third-party software such as Native Instruments or Omnisphere, we do recommend that you have at least 16 gigabytes of RAM on your device. So we're gonna set this up here with the laptop stand just on the end of the keyboard. You want to make sure that it's nice and sturdy so that no one walking by will accidentally bump it off. Now, I do also want to mention that it's very important to make sure that your laptop always is connected to power if you're going to be playing for a service. You don't want to live on the edge and risk your laptop dying in the middle of a service and having all the sound just stop.
That's right, yeah. Even if it has great battery life and it will last for hours and hours and hours, you still never want to risk that. So you want to make sure that you give it all the resources it needs.
The next component to your software keys rig setup is the USB hub. And this is going to be the place where you're going to plug in all of your devices. So your keyboard will plug into here, your computer, and your audio interface as well. If you'll notice, the cable on this hub is kind of short. So in order to make your keyboard rig a little bit cleaner, or if you just want a little bit more space, you can use a USB-C extension to give you some more room to tape that around the back or just organize it a bit better. So now that we've got our hub connected, we're going to connect our keyboard to the hub using a USB cable. The next component of your software keys rig setup is the audio interface. Now, the audio interface is going to allow you to send sound out of your computer and into the sound system at your church. Again, this is super simple to set up. You just take a USB cable from the interface to your hub and it's ready to go. On the back of the audio interface are 2 1/4-inch outputs, which will allow you to send sound to your sound system. Now, depending on how your sound system is set up, you might need a pair of direct boxes to convert the 1/4-inch version to the XLR cable. Now, our worship keys rig is almost complete, but there are a few more things we need to make sure we get plugged in. If you're using a laptop, it might be inconvenient to try and move the trackpad around to control all of the things on the screen. So we recommend using a MIDI controller like the Korg Nano Control 2 that allows you to move the faders and the knobs on the screen without actually getting into the trackpad in the computer itself. Now, the very last component is the sustain pedal, so don't forget to plug that in as well. All right, so we've got everything plugged in and ready to go, and everything's working as expected. If you notice, there's a lot of cables going on, so if you want to clean up your keys rig and make sure that it looks nice and tidy, we recommend using some Velcro ties like these. They're super inexpensive, but they are really, really worth the value in making everything look nice and tidy and neat. If you want to learn more about the Sunday Keys app for Mac or for iPad, check out the link in the description below. And we've also linked all the gear that we've shown today in the description so you can find it there as well. If you found this video helpful, be sure to like it and subscribe to our channel so that you don't miss out on any of the free content that we put out every single week.